Welcome back to The Manual, a podcast where we talk about the stuff most men's podcasts are too afraid to touch. Today's episode is going to be wild, raw, and real. Buckle up. What's going on, everybody? We are coming at you the week of Christmas. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. It's good to be alive. Reality is kind of fun when you are living in it and not coping from it. And we're going to talk about one of the most effective tools today to learn how to embrace reality, train your brain to live in reality without needing to escape from it in order to be okay. And that is the daily Discomfort Discovery Call. Guys going through freedom groups routinely say that this is one of the most transformative habits. And it's both one of the easiest habits to implement, and it's one of the ones, if not the one, that brings the most resistance with getting started on. So we're going to talk all about that today on The Manual. Nick, I'm curious off the top, what have you seen from guys that have taken it upon themselves to do the daily discomfort discovery calls and push through the resistance? What have you seen being the biggest changes that they experience through this habit?
To be honest, I'm kind of so fired up that I picked your card out of thin air right before we hopped on the call. I've been practicing my magic tricks for the last week for Zeke. A couple guys come to mind. It's just... So is it Socrates, Socrates said the unexamined life is not worth living. And so what we're doing here is a particular examination of conscience. Where am I experiencing discomfort in my day? And we can talk about why we do that and what's important about discovering the discomfort and the deeper, truer emotional experience. But so often guys are just disconnected, one from their bodies and one from what they're actually experiencing. And so we just go on autopilot, and all of a sudden I'm in tunnel vision and I'm acting out. And guys start to, just multiple guys I'm thinking of right now have said, I don't know how I got there. And I just all of a sudden I'm there. And the next thing I know, I'm like, shit, I got to go to confession. So they don't even know how they get there. And so we're trying to break the pattern to get and really just open up. Let's look a mile before you got there to acting out. What was driving it? Because I tell guys all the time, this is not a moral issue. Okay? Every guy that talks to us doesn't want to do it. Check. I believe it's evil. Check. And to a fault sometimes. I believe I'm going to hell. Okay, great. Maybe not. Addiction's an interesting thing. But let's put that conversation aside for the moment and just say, hey, this isn't a moral issue. And so when we do that, when we all can agree that we don't want to do it, great, okay. Then we can start to really get curious and really grow in awareness. One of the most difficult things for guys to do because of shame and because of years of living in the shame cycle and going through our porn ritual, which oftentimes is the sacrament of reconciliation for us Catholics, can kind of perpetuate the vicious cycle. But growing in, as we say, awareness without judgment, to really get curious, to be active observers of our own life, because when I'm listening to a guy, I can get curious without shame or judgment or condemnation. But when a guy starts to get curious of his own life and his own behavior, and what people do and what people say is interesting, but why we do what we do and why we say what we say and what's undergirding it and what's driving it. When a guy starts to really unlock some things and grow in awareness, the shame starts lifting, and then, okay, now you're in the moment, you can start to make sense of stuff. And then you start getting some of your agency back. And the automation can kind of just break over you, or the spell can kind of break over you. You're like, oh, hey, what I need actually right now is... maybe it's connection, or I'm bored, or I'm lonely, or I'm anxious. Okay. So that's what this drug is looking to do, is looking to help with my anxiety. Okay, what's something else I can do? Maybe it's calling your freedom partner. So yeah, I mean, it is. I believe hands down, and I think we both agree that this is one of the best tools that we deploy and we give guys to use daily in the process of growing in freedom.
Yeah, the one thing I would add to that, I mean, I think it encapsulates everything you're saying. It's a dramatic development in a man's self-awareness to
Yep.
become aware of himself. And not only of himself, but the problems that he's actually facing, right? I mean, often our coping mechanisms are these reflexive behaviors to deal with the problem before we even really understand what the problem is. And it's very plausible and possible that if we could just create a tiny bit of space to slow down and stop and say, okay, what's the problem I'm dealing with here? We could deploy a 2-second solution, take a deep breath, being one example, and it's gone. And I'm not, and
Right.
I'm speaking to that from both lived experience and seeing guys have deployed solutions like that. But it first starts with that regular practice and exercise of increased self-awareness. What's going on below the surface? What are you dealing with? Learning to answer the question, how are you? With
Yep.
more than a good or fine, right?
Yeah.
And that, I mean, it's both exposing, which is why so many guys have resistance to doing it, and it feels vulnerable, right? Especially when they start doing it with a guy who begins as a stranger to start speaking in a way that most guys never speak about to anyone, no matter their proximity or their circle of trust that person
Right.
is. They just don't have relationships like that. Which is, I think, then the second layer of it is as guys start to experience what closeness feels like, what attunement, a connection, being seen feels like, which is a major antidote to the need to take it upon myself to get seen, to get affection, to get the allure, the fantasy of closeness, attunement, desire from a 2D image or video on the internet, which we know is a powerful way that pornography plays out in giving us sort of a fallacy version or a fake version of what we legitimately need. You know, that there's an incredible study research that shows that guys spend over 90% of their time watching pornography looking at the actor or actress's face. Like, this isn't a debasement of the naked body as much as it is an attempt to see somebody in their vulnerability and connect with them in that place, to try to make sense of that desire for affection that most men have lived their entire lives completely deprived from. And this regular short 5-minute call does that in a really powerful way, starts to walk them into the experience of intimacy and closeness that they have been so hungry and longing for,
Yeah.
and being seen in that way. And it's vulnerable and there's resistance there because it's a new thing that most of us have never delved into. Now, we're not going to spend all of our time today just talking about why you should do this or even how to do it. At the end of this call, little teaser here, end of this conversation, we're going to role play a Discomfort Discovery. So if you're listening to this, you're not in a freedom group, or you're interested about the idea of practicing this in your life, you'll have some of the tools to be able to walk out of here and start practicing this
Yeah.
tomorrow. So fundamentally, a Discomfort Discovery Call, you do it daily. It's a 5 to 10 minute habit that trains your brain to welcome pain and discomfort, to acknowledge its existence rather than to reflexively run away from it.
Yeah.
Nick, talk a little bit about this concept or idea of avoidance versus approach and why that's so important, of learning to shift ourselves into approach what I'm facing in life versus what is oftentimes reflexive in us to avoid what causes us pain.
Yeah. I'll say this. So the reason it's quite a mouthful, what we call a daily discomfort discovery call. And we've mentioned this before, but we distinguish between temptation and craving in our system. And temptation is more thoughts, images, imagination, memories that pop up. And what's activated in the brain is your prefrontal cortex. But with discomfort, or with craving rather, craving is discomfort, particularly psychological or emotional discomfort masquerading as sexual arousal in this case. Or really, it could be masquerading as whatever. For me, my two main drugs of choice were alcohol and porn and masturbation. So for me, it could be craving for alcohol is discomfort, psychological or emotional discomfort masquerading as craving for alcohol. Okay, right? The reality is drugs work. You're experiencing a level of discomfort. Could be boredom. A lot of times it's relational tension. It's fear of engaging a conversation, fear of a boss, fear of a presentation. Procrastination really is the fruit of a resistance to engage something because you have a negative appraisal of what that task is. And so these lead to addictions, and your brain's like, hey, I know something that'll at least help you feel better in this moment. And we do it so many times that we become addicted to it. It's this illegitimate way of filling the legitimate need. And so we talk a lot about, we help guys understand, like, how does the brain work? Well, the amygdala, little small almond, I think amygdala is Greek for almond, actually. It's a small almond-shaped part of your brain that's primarily responsible for emotions like anger and fear, and it's constantly surveying your environment. And this served us well when we had legitimate threats, had actual threats in our life for our livelihood. The reality is, very few of us have actual threats in our lives, but we experience physiologically symptoms similar to, a wild, a cheetah coming after us in the wild. So it could be you're getting on stage to speak to a crowd. It could be you're about to have a tough conversation. And so if guys are unaware of this, we create a negative appraisal. And it's like, oh, this is something negative. And what's interesting, one simple tool that I also like to share with guys is Mel Robbins' 5-second rule. Have we talked about this before? 5-second rule?
Not on here.
So it's, for those of you who don't know, not the food 5-second rule, but the way the brain works. So and Mel Robbins popularized this, and if the brain has a thought to do something, and it could be you're at a networking event and you see somebody, you're like, I should go talk to that person. Or you're at a young adult event, you're like, I should go talk to that girl. If you don't do that within roughly the first 5 seconds of having the thought, your brain thinks, why isn't he doing this? Why isn't he acting on the thought that he had? That thing must be a threat. So then we have a negative appraisal, we go into self-protection mode, and we shut down and we don't do what we wanted to do. And so ultimately what we want to help guys open up to is not necessarily changing the thing. What do I mean? I've got one of our coaches that we're onboarding is in my Thursday morning group, and he observes that group, and he often gives me a ton of great feedback, which is really cool, of my own coaching. And just the other day, he says, I want to develop, deepen my coaching in it by addressing the person as opposed to the problem. He says, you always do a good job at this. And he gave me a few examples. He says, he gave different names. I won't mention their names, but bro, number one, brought up, I can't allow myself to feel loved. The next guy mentioned, I just want to get out of here. The third guy mentioned a thought of, he said something and I asked how that thought has served him. The fourth guy mentioned, men don't change because, then he said, here's what he said. Men don't change because of information. They change when they feel safe, seen, and stirred to awaken. And so what we want to help guys do is not necessarily, because when a guy shares a problem or a discomfort, often as we're listening, we're like, well, let's fix that thing. Rather than, hey, how are you engaging internally? What's that stirring up within you? What's the alarm going off within you? And how can you just actually open up to it, feel it in your body, and say, hey, what if this isn't a threat? And what's the opportunity? So we teach guys how to reframe the perceived threat or the perceived challenge into an opportunity, feel it in their body, welcome it, and then breathe into it. So I said a lot there. There's a little bit of word salad there. Joe, pick some things out that were standing out to you.
Well, I love what you're talking about. It's a great callback to our episode last week on the dopamine trap, because this is central to everything you're saying, is this understanding that pain and pleasure are linked, right? So when I experience pain, my brain wants to give me pleasure in order to get me back to homeostasis. And unfortunately, many of us have learned reflexive behaviors to manufacture dopamine rather than letting our brains figure out how to experience boring reality, the next thing we need to do, as rewarding. Because that's what our brain will do if we give it time to do it, right? It's kind of tied up at its highest level in Viktor Frankl's Man's Search for Meaning, right? Like, how do you find pleasure, reward in the most depraved scenario on the face of the earth, right? Well, the brain has to get back to homeostasis. So even in the most painful circumstance, if we willfully allow our brain to stay there, it will do it on its own. But what so many of us are trained for is to experience discomfort and pain subconsciously and to run to the nearest pleasure factory and flood our brain with way more pleasure than is necessary to get us back to homeostasis, which launches us well below on that scale that we talked about last week. If you didn't listen last week, go back and listen, because we talk a lot more about that. Way over scales, brings pleasure way down, which means pain has to get loaded up on the scale in order to come back to homeostasis, which means that in that influx of pleasure, we're not removing the absence of pain long term. We're signing ourselves up for more of it.
Right.
Right? And everything you're talking about, well, why is this habit such an effective then way to be able to retrain that reflex in us? Well, it trains us to look at the pain and take stock of it. I am currently experiencing blank. The pendulum has swung. I am uncomfortable. And it is uncomfortable to the level of an 8. And it's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay. And I know and I have hope that my brain will do what it's designed to do, which is bring me back to okay. That stable, steady, calm place where I can live, which is every practice of presence that we invite guys into is ultimately about that as well. No matter how painful it is, learn to allow yourself to regulate back to the point of okay, and believe and trust that, especially the longer you get out of coping behavior, the better your brain becomes at doing this on its own. It's not great at that. I mean, that's why with withdrawal and the first 30 days are really challenging, because your brain doesn't know how to do that without the fake mechanisms of reward. When we remove those, the brain tries to incentivize us to go back to those behaviors because it thinks that's the only way that we get the dopamine flood.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so this invitation is, well, don't just go through the starvation period, just holding on for dear life and white knuckling. Your brain doesn't learn very much. Use the opportunity if you are going to experience significant discomfort. That's okay.
Yeah.
Notice it. Pay attention to it. And this habit, guys that are willing to do it, this habit allows them in that process of withdrawal and rebuilding of brain circuitry to develop such a deep level of self-awareness that they can make light year achievement on their development of self-discipline or self-mastery beyond the guy who may maintain sobriety but doesn't do the reflective work at the same time. And that's why, there's many habits that undergird just that one habit in isolation is incomplete. But why it's so important is because it allows a guy to turn on the lights in his room and see the mess and not need to overreact to it as he starts to see the pieces come into play of, okay, how do I clean this up? Right? We had a guy who used the example, this was about a year ago, who used the example of, well, if you want to clean out your junk drawer, You got to open your junk drawer, and then you have to take everything out of your junk drawer until it's empty, and then sort all the stuff from your junk drawer
Yeah.
and put it back in an order that makes sense, that it won't turn
Yeah.
into a mess a week later, right?
Yeah.
There's a process to being able to do this. And each day a guy doing this is allowing himself to open the junk drawer, take one thing out and look at it, consider its utility, throw it away if it's not useful, keep it if it is useful, and figure out the best place to put it without needing to react to it. And like, when I open my junk drawer, it's stuck. So I gotta jam it open, and I get so frustrated immediately because I can't get to anything I need, that my inclination, my reflex is just to grab it
Yeah.
all, grab the garbage and throw it away.
Yeah.
Well, a month from now, at the very best, I'll come back and be frustrated, like, oh, that thing I need now is gone.
Yeah.
Right. So again, it's a incomplete analogy, but that analogy helps draw us into what are we doing here?
Right.
Because you're breaking down a task that can be laborious and overwhelming into a small daily exercise of self-reflection that turns on the lights, that brings everything out of the junk drawer. And when we're ready, when we're experiencing it, not ready intellectually, like you said, not ready through information, but when we're in it, to be able to examine it.
Yeah.
And that's incredibly helpful.
Totally. Yeah. I love that image of the junk drawer, because it's so relatable for any part of a guy's life that he's trying to get his life in order. And oftentimes progress does not feel like progress. It actually can feel like stuff's actually getting a lot worse because you're actually looking at stuff.
Yep.
You're living in reality. I remember the first time I sat down and looked at my budget with actually a buddy of mine who's a financial advisor, tons of shame came up.
Yep.
Like, oh, that doesn't feel good. But looking at reality, living in reality is super helpful. Just a couple more thoughts on this, that really certainly there's going to be like physiological pain with drug withdrawal, whatever drug it is, certainly more substances, but even these behaviors there's chemicals released in the body. I mean, we know that, but one thing that's coming to mind is just, when I've a couple different times I've been on Adderall, and if you're on, anybody listening has been on Adderall and has tried to get off, holy crap, it is hard. Just physically, just physiologically, not emotionally and mentally, even though that is a piece I want to talk about briefly, but because that's the deep stuff. But the dopaminergic system is so hijacked and jacked up from exogenous dopamine. Well, it's not actually dopamine coming in, but your dopamine receptors are just getting through the roof. So when you don't have that, you have deep mental fatigue, brain fog, lack of motivation, and you're going to have it. I mean, heavy lack of motivation for probably a week. And it's going to carry for another it's probably 2 weeks before you start getting back to baseline. At least that was my experience. But what I think for a lot of guys, and so if you remove the drug, you remove the habit, you're going to not feel as good. With porn, a lot of guys use porn as a stress reliever. You don't use that drug, you're going to show up feeling not as good. Okay, so let's just stick with the Adderall example. What's very difficult about that certainly is I'm tired. That's hard. But what's even more hard is I'm not showing up the way I want to. Like I'm not performing at the level that I want to perform. I'm not doing the quality of work that I want to do. So I'm not at my peak performance. And really that's a mental thing. Mm-hmm. That's an emotional and mental thing. So can we end that? So be okay with progress not feeling like progress. Can I be okay with feeling pretty crappy? Like what we don't necessarily, a lot of times in calls with guys, like I'll end them and like, hey, sometimes we don't end these. I'm talking about a coaching call right now. We're not going to end these coaching calls feeling great. Like that's not necessarily the goal.
Right.
I want you to feel what you're feeling, and it's okay. Hey, stay in this right now. Like, let's not go into despair, but we want to walk through it with guys, and just to open up to reality, to stay in it, to feel it, and to because we say that we only act on any emotions that we're unwilling to experience. If I'm unwilling to feel tired, if I'm unwilling to feel bored, if I'm unwilling to feel the quote negative emotion, I'm going to act on it. Hey, can you be willing just to feel it? Where is it in your body? What are you experiencing? How do we breathe into it? And this is it. Pain is the path. Discomfort is your teacher. And walking through it, this is the path of redemptive suffering, the suffering that leads to life.
Yeah, that's so good, Nick. Yeah, I'm I'm just struck by that invitation. I want to get practical here in just a second about what exactly does this look like, and then you and I can role play that for guys. Many guys come to us with a framework or a concept for accountability systems or accountability groups or accountability partners. Why do you think that this daily discomfort discovery call works better than most accountability partners?
Yeah. I got a couple thoughts. I think accountability has like kind of a funny, like it's got like trappings on it, like a stigma. It's got like, because it's basically how it's always done is guys don't focus on the person. When they're listening to a guy share, they focus on just the outcome and the result, and they address the problem rather than the person. But as I was saying earlier, what is men don't change because of information or strictly accountability. Men change because they feel seen and safe and known. And it's, I think, what's often happens with a lot of groups and accountability is a guy just shows up. It's like, yep, I did it again. Eventually, it almost just becomes
like, what do I do with that information?
Yeah. It's like, great. Okay.
Yeah.
Try to get back on the horse.
Yeah.
But we're looking at the outcome. We're looking at the fruit. We're looking at the result versus what's driving it.
Yep.
What's driving. And so I think there's both sides of it. One is the guy that's when he's processing, he's going to just grow in a ton of awareness. But also, how do you listen well? Like if you engage these discomfort discovery calls with a guy as you're actively listening and asking sincerely curious questions, hey, where do you feel it? Say more about that.
Yeah,
man, that's going to translate. Talk about meeting. I mean, anybody else with, especially your wife, or your girlfriend, like listening well there. And so I think what's unique is we're just looking at what's underneath the tip of the iceberg. What's undergirding? What are the thoughts?
Yep.
That you're having that are creating emotions,
Yep.
right? That are driving the behavior. So not just looking at the behavior, but looking before. And again, growing in awareness and not judging it, but just like, oh, that's interesting.
Yep.
That's what I experienced. Or that conversation and not even thinking I shouldn't feel this way. Well, you are. And that's valid, actually. Mm-hmm. Like that's you're feeling it. And so let's just be honest about it. Yep. And whether or not you should have responded that way from your boss, you did. That's interesting.
Yep.
Let's get curious.
Yep.
Again, yeah. So, any other thoughts on that?
Yeah, as you're talking, I'm thinking about a couple practical things. One, the frequency. Guys don't talk to each other every day. Yeah. That's a practical, and I think an important aspect of the frequency that we encourage so much, especially early on, is that you don't want this to become a hey, I failed mechanism. Like screwed up again. And I only do it when I screw up, because then all at best I'm learning to do is deal with the emotion of failure. Well, failure only accompanies the fall, right? So I don't learn how to deal with pain. That's the precursor, the cues and triggers that precurse my desire to use, right?
Yep.
So that's an incredibly important and novel aspect to this process, is you do it every day, no matter what. Every day. And it doesn't take that long, 5 to 10 minutes for both of you to share, to actively listen, to close. That's it. So being able to do that on a consistent basis allows you to face pain and discomfort rather than just to face the failure of not being able to maintain your sobriety or
Yeah.
not being able to go without acting out. When it's done not well or not helpfully, I think again to what the point you're sharing is it gets brought down to that level of like, hey man, I screwed up again. Which like what do you say to somebody in that state?
Right.
Usually you say like, hey, it's okay. Get back up, or what are you going to do differently so this doesn't happen again? Or uh like, sorry to hear that. Or at best, like, what were you triggered by? And they're like,
Mhm.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It was a week ago. So the frequency is super
Yeah.
important. It's super important. And then
Right.
it's the focus of the content of
Hmm.
what am I doing here? The goal here in the Discomfort Discovery Call really has nothing to do with my reflexes or my action. It has everything to do with drawing my awareness, my mindfulness, drawing my brain's attention to what I carry in order to start making sense of it, to
Yeah.
acknowledge its existence, and to decide what to do with it. Right. So it's all about, and so practically, what does that look like? Again, I've mentioned 5 to 10 minutes as an anchor. It's 2.5 minutes per guy to 5 minutes per guy, depending on how much you have to share. You don't start off the bat. Usually, we'll role play this, so you'll probably find out. I have no idea what I'm carrying when I'm invited to share. If you ask me how are you doing, I have to stop and think. That's
Yeah.
the first step. Stop, breathe, draw your awareness, especially to your physical body. It's one of the great concepts that I think we've learned from other people in men's work. Is most men can't name their emotions, but they can tell you what they feel in their physical body if they're willing to slow down long enough to feel it. So you start at the level of sensation, physical sensation. What do you feel in your body? Slow down and stop as long as it takes for you to be able to feel it. That's hard for guys, right? Because immediately you spend 1 second and the immediate thought is, well, I don't feel anything. Stop, breathe, slow down long enough to let yourself notice what's there. Usually, as you notice it, as you draw your attention to it, it grows in intensity. It's allowed to exist, right? And it doesn't grow exponentially, but it raises say a level or two on a scale of 0 to 10. Comes
Yeah.
up a little bit more. Okay, what would you name that? Try to engage the language parts of your brain in describing that thing, and then welcoming it is that opportunity rather than to reflexively fight or flee to say, it's okay that you're here. I'm not afraid of you. It's okay that you exist. I can stay in this. I can deal with it. I have what it takes to be able to engage this discomfort, whatever it is. And then if it's helpful or necessary, again, because this isn't just the goal of this isn't just to spend our time and like make ourselves depressed by talking about all the terrible things that come up in our life. You can close if you'd like with what's the one thing you're most grateful for? Or maybe that the experience of going through that, there's tremendous gratitude there. But again, the goal here is also not to minimize, to your point, Nick, of the goal of these calls isn't to end every call on a high note.
Right.
It might be that, it was really important for me to acknowledge
Right.
how much that affected me. That's it. That's what I need to do here. So that's kind of the process. Anything you want to add to that before we get in and role play it?
I don't think so. That's good.
Awesome. Since I spoke last, you got to start. So we just hopped on the phone. Nick, what's going on? How you
Going
doing?
on. Good, Joe. I'm good. Of course I'm good. How you doing?
I'm fine.
Everything's fine.
I'm totally fine. Freaked out, insecure, nervous, and emotional. I'm fine. Well, hey, you want to hop into your call? I'd love to know
Yeah.
what you've been carrying discomfort, what you've been experiencing, allow you to process a
Yep.
little bit.
Yep. External processors. We both discover what I'm thinking at the same time. Yeah, just thinking about this call is always helpful because I'm forced to think. But even, I mean, I'll say that it's only 10 a.m. So even just this morning, I was There's been a lot that's been coming up, man. That my 40th birthday. Okay, my 40th birthday. There's been a lot over the last few days, but the main thing that I kind of want to just share now is, dude, it's vulnerable inviting people to your birthday party. And I see the nose, and it's a funny time of year. But okay, actually, just it's funny. Then I'm like, well, there's reason. Okay. What am I actually even experiencing when I see a lot of the no's coming in? And there's not going to be as many people as I want there. So I'm like navigating this. Like, because at first I didn't even want to do it. A party, my 40th birthday party. And again, that's certainly self-protection. But then, praise God, Teresa encouraged me to do something. She's like, what if you just do it with all the guys? And so I've kind of actually, that was my idea. Honestly expressing desire and getting honest about what I want. And then when I've been, okay, here's what I want to do. So I'm hosting this party at my gym because I don't just want to hang out for a few hours. And I think I'm just experiencing a little bit of vulnerability of like, hey, are guys even going to want to do this? I want to, but I'm seeing the no's come in. I'm like, dang it. Dang it. Why doesn't he want to come? Or can he not come? And I,
What does that bring up in you internally in your body? What do you notice changing or happening?
right now I kind of feel a little silly, but I was aware of it earlier, knowing that we were going to have our call, which is super helpful to consistently do it because I'm like, because I was just, I saw them this morning and I tried to rush past it just by like doing a bunch of work. And I realized like 30 minutes later, I'm like, I'm off. And I don't know how to, it wasn't like a pit in my stomach, but it was like, it's hard to explain. I was like, yeah, it was kind of like anxious, like wanting to, it was kind of like a whole body buzzing anxiety. Yes, the best. I know what it feels like. It's hard to put into words, though. I just didn't feel present. I felt like I wanted to kind of just get out of this moment.
What happens to it as you slow down right now?
I don't know why I want to tear up. Not like want to. In fact, I don't want to. It was like so I am. There's a lot of vulnerability, but there's like shame. There's a lot of like
Shame for feeling the way, or
yes, totally. There's like shame for feeling like what I'm feeling, shame for having these thoughts. Yeah, like and it's been a lot around the 40th birthday stuff. I just the age thing's so funny, and part of it is like true. It's like people find out that I'm about to be 40, they're like, "Wow, didn't think you were going to be 40." But I've also played the card a lot, and it's like this not taking myself seriously and not taking myself like, Nick, you actually got a lot to offer, and you've actually made a pretty good life for being a 40-year-old. But like wrestling with the thoughts, like even just earlier this week, sharing some of the stuff with Teresa, I'm like, and the shame that comes up in the sharing of it. It's like you should be over this by now. Yeah. So I think that's what kind of like the tears are like. I'm like, I don't want to feel like this. I feel a little shame just having the thoughts. It's good to be met in it.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing that, man.
Yeah.
What does it look like for you to welcome that emotion? and not drive it down through the shame.
Yeah, I think allowing, um, yeah, I mean, right now I just simply paying attention to it and breathing with it. I was gonna say like really crying, but I don't know if that's it. Like I'm certainly open to that if that comes. But just like, oh yeah, my whole I feel I I viscerally right now feel the shame, but even as I'm give my attention to it, it's starting to go down. Like it's kind of like my arms and shoulders and then my legs, like it's kind of the tingling and the buzzing's going down, and yeah, even just acknowledging it. Um, yeah, feeling more present.
You okay if we title this podcast episode, "You Want to See Nick Cry?" question mark?
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
All right, cool.
It's funny. I was actually thinking of this recently. Like at the beginning of my conversion 16 years ago, I cried like every freaking day. And I was recently thinking, like, I haven't cried a lot lately.
Yeah,
It's good to cry.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if I don't think that's a matter of healing and maturity or some of that shame you talked about
Yeah.
thinking we should be beyond it by now.
Yeah.
Because
A
yeah,
little bit of both.
crying is a pretty. I mean, your body's. We've talked about animals shaking to release trauma
Right.
and other things there are things that are built into us that God has designed and put them there in order to release what we carry,
Yeah.
and we resist them and we manufacture other alternatives in
Uh
order to
huh.
cope.
Uh huh.
And
Yeah.
tears is certainly one of those things, and I'm as culprit of that, if not more than you are,
Yeah.
to not letting myself cry. Or yeah, I think it's the case for many men not knowing how to get there, how to manufacture that. What environment do I need to be able to get myself to that
Yeah.
point? And
And
by
I
the grace
think,
of God, the past couple months I've experienced some
yeah.
times where it's just come out of me and
Yeah.
in a variety of environments. So
Yeah, I think the mediation of another person allows us to, it makes it more real. Like I went back to this morning as I was processing with you, which is the power of journaling, the power of like sometimes if I like to walk when I pray, sometimes I just like talk out loud,
yeah,
but really with another person. I mean, I'm just reminded of I had a call yesterday with a client. I won't share his details, but just a tragic situation happened, and he and his wife sat in the car. I don't know for how long, but it sounded like 15 minutes of nothing, and finally he started talking and then he just started weeping. So
yeah,
this is the power. It just makes this stuff more real. It allows you to go back to it
yeah,
and to tap into the emotions. It's such a yeah. I mean, this is how humans were created. We need another person's
yeah,
limbic brain to help me
yeah,
regulate. It's
yeah. Ride
co-regulation,
the
and
wave. Yeah, that's really
so
good.
yeah,
Yeah, I think I'm experiencing right now. I'm not experiencing as I slow down and pay attention a whole lot. There's a little bit of tightness in my chest, maybe 2 or 3 level. I think it's mostly on the level of my head at this point, as I feel, which is something that I think I've felt most of my life, is that I'm holding the expectations of a whole bunch of different groups of people. My work
mm,
people, you're included in that group, my family people, my extended family people, my friends people, and their expectations, and that I'm failing all of them.
mm,
Like that I try really hard to hold it together and to meet them. And then I just found that at different points it feels like everybody's mad or disappointed at the same time. And I think I've been chasing that this week, having a sense of like I feel like that's right around the corner. I feel like uh, I'm in that same spiral, and I don't know that I've been coping from it necessarily as trying to work my way out of it, like how to be better, how to perform more effectively,
mm,
how to give more. So that looks like working late at nights to try to catch up on work I'm behind on. Trying to at the same time trying to not work while Krista wants my attention, trying to be
right,
available to the kids in the morning, but also trying to work out and maintain that. So I just a lot of yeah, and some of that expectation is good. It drives me, and it's not the expectation. It's not other expectations of me problem. I don't really know, to be honest, at this point, what the problem is in terms of how to fix it or resolve it long term, beyond the amount of commitments or people's expectation that I allow to have access to me, I guess. But yeah, I think that has created a sense of pressure and anxiety for, and that it manifests as thoughts of, is he mad at me, or is she mad at me, or what did I do wrong now,
Yeah.
or oh shit, it's something's going to happen, which creates that, at best, if I'm performing in it well, which isn't a good thing, but if I'm performing it well, it drives me to perform more. Okay, I can clean it up before they get mad at me. At worst, it makes me avoid. I won't respond. I won't talk. I won't talk. I won't make eye contact. I
Yeah.
won't. I feel myself shutting down. By the grace of God, I don't think I've been doing either of those that week in terms of the pendulum swing that I used to experience as a dramatic, like, oh, I'm in this and I can't get out of avoidant mode until it just changes, or I'm in performance mode and I'm just going to and then other people will get really mad at me because I'm hyper focused on performing in this area, which means the total avoidance of all the other areas. Right. And so I think the solution that I've been learning is kind of that sequential unitasking idea of
Yeah.
like, what do I need to do right now?
Yeah.
Who has my attention? If my family has my attention, that's who's got my attention. And I need to be fully present here. Okay, do I have space and time to choose? Okay, well, maybe I need to choose the attention of this group of people or this person and deliver. So again, I think it hasn't been dramatic in terms of the emotion, the experience,
Uh-huh.
it's not a 6, 7, 8 level tension or experience of anxiety. It hasn't been crippling or crushing. There have been select moments where I feel really overwhelmed, where it's probably been that, but that's not been the over the course of this week as a time horizon, been the overall experience. But I felt a little bit about that. So in general, I think right now, and partly because I'm doing work and I'm getting stuff done, it feels
Yeah.
resolved,
Yeah.
right? But then if I get out of it, and especially if I get a sense for, oh, something, I forgot something, or something's not going well, when I'm in that mode or mindset, that reflex becomes pretty quick of like, oh, shoot,
Yeah.
and then I feel very intensely. So just trying to, again, calm myself down, as well as, I mean, you and I were talking about, I mean, one of these examples you and I were talking about yesterday with a responsibility that I had that I've just pushed out into the future because other stuff has demanded my attention. I've just largely not done it. And like, okay, how do I, like, before I would try to lie or minimize or deflect or avoid,
Yeah.
and like, I just need I just need to be honest, to deal with the ramifications of that honesty, and to do my best to make amends, which amends isn't just saying sorry, it's I'm going to do it different, like I'm going to get it done. And not to perform to try to earn your approval, but like, I want
Yeah.
what you want. We want the same thing. And my end of the bargain wasn't upheld the way that yours was. So again, it's the desire, like, I want to learn how to do this, and going through it, the failure of it helps me learn how to do it better in the
That's
future.
good.
And so it's not trying to resist or avoid those circumstances much as okay, it's here. Like, and I want to face it head on. These little examples of that often stack up, and then I feel myself under a mountain
Mm-hmm.
of little examples, and that's where I completely avoid or become
Mm-hmm.
hyper focused and avoid all the others, et cetera. And so just learning how to not do that. Okay, a new issue popped up, a new problem that I have to face. There's a little bit of overwhelm. I'm just going to face it. Let it be what it is, not add it to the mountain. I'm going to let this be what it is, deal with it to the extent that I'm able, and to move on. So I think that's how I'm doing.
That's good. Just one question, just for our time here. You said I'm holding the expectations of a whole lot of different groups of people. That's what you're doing. What's what's a thought? Just curious there that might be undergirding that. Like, what are you mentioned some too. Well, I don't. Yeah, what thought might be undergirding that?
I mean, the pendulum swing of the thoughts is on the one end, which is the reaction to, I think, the core thought is, I don't give a shit what you think of me. It's like I get to a place where I stop
Yeah.
caring what you think, and that's utterly defensive,
Yeah.
right? And not true, because I really do care. That, and the other side of the pendulum is a people pleasing thought of, I want you to like me. I want you to think I'm very, very good at what I do. I want to be perceived as
Mm.
incredibly effective and good at this, whatever this is. Good at being a friend, good at being a worker, good at being a husband, good at being a father. I want to be perceived as excellent on all of those areas. And yeah,
Yeah.
going back to when I was young, that looked, because I wasn't that in most areas of my life, it looked
Hmm.
like performance or lie. Minimize the truth,
Right.
only show or reveal the excellent outcomes, what I
That's
consider
good.
as effective. So I
That's
don't know if
good.
that answers your question
Yeah.
totally, but I think it's at its core is that sort of people pleasing.
Hmm.
I need you to like me in order to be okay. The other end of it, which I go to not as regularly, but I go to if I have to face it. The temptation is to go into the mindset of, I don't give a f what you
Yeah.
think.
It's interesting.
Deal with it, you
Yeah.
know. And
Yeah.
that's the self-protective.
Yeah.
This is sort of the self-exposed
Hmm.
that I work really hard to
Yeah.
keep in the right light, to be seen
Hmm.
and perceived in the right light, until
Good
I
awareness.
can't anymore. And then I tell everybody to get away from me.
Good, man. Well, I know we're going to be talking tomorrow. Just quick. Well, I mean, you just processed a lot of good stuff. There was one thing that you're taking away from this call.
Yeah, just the invitation, I think, to keep doing what I'm doing, to keep facing the
Yeah.
stuff, and to not let it build the molehill to build into a mountain, to keep being honest, and to practice
Yeah.
like radical honesty, as well as just to communicate what I'm experiencing and feeling, both for my own benefit as well as so that I can treat other people with respect and honesty and
Yeah.
integrity through a time period that has been cyclical in my life, and to do it differently this time.
Love it.
How about you?
I think we solved everything. One, oh, what about me? Yeah, it's just so good to feel the shame. Like, it was shame that I shouldn't be feeling this way, like, or have these thoughts. Like, you shouldn't have those thoughts. Like, shame about having the thoughts. So
Yeah.
the shame was coming as I was sharing, but that's so good. That's so good to feel it, to name it, and welcome it. So I'm grateful that came up.
That's really good. Awesome. Well, that is a role play of a discomfort discovery call. Nick and I like to talk. We probably went longer than you might, but as external processors, that's part of the, like I said, like I warned you off the top, is it takes time to uncover. Our invitation to guys is always worry less about the environment or circumstances that led to the feeling as much as the feeling. And both, you saw in that role play, both Nick and I do that for each other. I mean, that wasn't a role play. That was our real life. We just processed through what's happening now. And so it was a role play of the process expressed through our current reality for Nick and I, as honestly as we're able to share. And you saw that early on we were trying to find the answer of feeling through the lens of circumstance. What's been happening in my life?
Right.
And then how that's been leading. Oftentimes that's where guys get stuck. They'll share all the facts. Well, this happened and this happened and this happened. And it never gets to the point of the feeling level. So what did that do? What did all that stuff end up doing on the level of physical sensation? Where do you carry that? Now, the recalling of the circumstance can be helpful to elicit it, but you got to get there. And so it can be helpful, your discomfort discovery partner. It can be helpful for them to cue you. Hey, you've been sharing a lot of facts. As you're sharing all that, what are you experiencing? It can also be helpful for you to cue yourself of, okay, I've been sharing a lot of facts, a lot of circumstance. what have I been carrying as a result of those circumstance or facts, those things that I've lived through. So get to the level of feeling, try to name it, and then welcome it. Invite it to exist within you and be okay with its presence, so that you can make sense of it, so you can integrate it into your experience and not be bound. I think both, like what Nick and I shared, is like both could lead to either acting out or avoidance if we let these patterns go on long enough, unrecognized, undealt with, unacknowledged. And like this is the cool thing about doing this, Nick, is I feel more free doing this with you in a role play setting, that I can live my day more freely, to embrace the day for what it has for me, and to engage it the way that I need to more readily than I would have if we didn't do this, which is the great gift of the Discomfort Discovery Call by its very nature. We got a couple of quick things that we want to shout out for you guys as we close today. The first, we're super excited about. We've been working behind the scenes on this for the vast majority of this past quarter, and that is the Freedom Community. This is an online community for our entire Freedom Group network to join in. Every guy that's ever been through a Freedom Group or is currently in a Freedom Group has lifetime free access to this, and it's very low cost for everybody else that needs the support, and that a Freedom Group might not be the right intensive approach for them in this season. So we're launching this live exclusively to our Freedom Group community through the end of the year. But when we get to Seek 2026 at the beginning of next year, January 1 through the 5th, we are going to open it up to everybody that's in attendance in Seek, giving away some incredible stuff and incentives to be able to hop on the Freedom Community. And we're planning to blow it up in the first quarter of next year. So don't wait. If you're interested, you can direct message us, reach out through our website, email us. We'll put a link to it down in the show notes, so you can see what's going on in that community. We'll also have some different videos and things that'll be able to walk you through everything that's there that we've built out that we're super excited about. Expert calls, live Q&As, community chat, tons of different e-course resources in there to help you do this work well and to engage the process rather than just try and white knuckle your way to freedom. On the second piece, we're going to Seek 2026.
Come on.
We're going to be in Columbus, Ohio, 31st to the 4th. So if you're going to be at the Seek conference, we would love to see you there. Our booth is on the second floor of something somewhere. Come and find us. It's going to be a blast. We got a mini golf course. We're giving away, what did I buy? Order 300 mugs that we're giving away. We're going to have a mini basketball hoop. Nick's going to be whipping out magic tricks all over the place, challenging the guys take some risks, see what happens there. He was sharing some of that earlier with me. It should be a blast, or guys get arrested, one of the two.
Yeah.
We'll find out later. But it's going to be a great time. We're super excited to be on the ground for the Seek conference, and we look forward to seeing you there. We're also in April 8th to the 11th, going to be in Dallas, Texas for the YCP, Young Catholic Professional YCP conference, as well as visiting with some good friends down there. So we're looking forward to that trip. If you're going to be at the YCP conference, let us know. We'd love to connect with you while we're there. And then the third thing, early announcement, exclusive announcement. If you're listening to this, nobody else knows about this except for you. May 15th and 16th of next year, we're putting on our own Freedom Retreat here in the Twin Cities in Minnesota for our audience and a variety of audiences of guys that will want to come to that. That's for anybody at any stage of the process of healing or conversion, dealing with craving in their life. That's an awesome way to be able to take meaningful steps forward. So we'll have a lot more to share with that as we come, but just want to put it on your radar. May 15th, 16th, at the very least, put it on your calendar and earmark it so that when the registration link goes live, you're ready to join and you'll be there in person. All right, y'all, we are grateful for you. Thanks for hanging on this long, and we will see you in 2026. Peace.